Hello everyone and welcome to session 8 of the AMBA and BGA Accreditation Forum, during which we're going to discuss Triple Crown accreditation. Today I'm delighted to be joined by AMBA and BGA's very own CEO, Andrew Main Wilson, Patti Brown, MBA Director of ESSEC Business School in France, Chris Healy, Head of MBA Marketing and Recruitment at Alliance Manchester Business School in the UK, Rajendra Srivastava, Dean and Novartis Professor of Marketing Strategy and Innovation at the Indian School of Business in India, and Samantha Walbrugh-Parsadh, Head of International Affairs at the University of Stellenbosch Business School in South Africa. In a moment, I'll pass over to Andrew to begin the panel, but just before I do, just to remind you that there'll be a Q&A session, as with all the sessions in this forum. So if you have any questions, you know what to do, just pop them in the box and I'll pass them on to Andrew to share with the rest of the panelists. We'll try and get through as many as we can, but if not, don't forget we have a Q&A session on Zoom tomorrow morning at 9 AM BST, when we'll be able to answer any unfinished questions from the other sessions. So I think that's all from me. Without any further ado, I'll pass over to Andrew to begin the session.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you all for joining us from all over the world, really. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And I hope you find this session very stimulating. We've deliberately chosen 4 of the top schools in the AMBA network, 4 of the top schools in the world, and deliberately a continental spread featuring Asia, Europe, and Africa to give you a variety of perspectives around the world. The Triple Crown was created about 20 years ago and has gone from strength to strength, culminating earlier this year with the accreditation of the Indian School of Business, and we're delighted to have Rajendra with us here, which became the milestone 100th Triple Crown school. And that got a lot of publicity when David and myself put a press release out. To bring us right up to date, there are now 101 Triple Crown schools. So congratulations to La Rochelle, who I think recently got their EQUIS accreditation that took them to the 101st. So what I'm going to do now is just start off, because everyone is interested from leading schools as to how you're finding coronavirus times. So I'm going to start by asking each of you, what has been your biggest success in these coronavirus times in terms of innovation, and what is the biggest challenge you're still facing? Chris, I'm going to start with you, particularly given that Manchester looks like it's about to go on a much more serious coronavirus lockdown.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much. So in terms of the biggest success at Alliance Manchester Business School and the University of Manchester, I guess we've done extremely well with our student numbers at both undergraduate and postgraduate thought level. But specifically from an MBA perspective, what we actually decided to do was to postpone our intake that was scheduled to start in September, to postpone it to December, to give ourselves the best possible opportunity of offering as much face-to-face on the MBA programme. What we hadn't necessarily envisaged was that we would still be very much in the midst of this situation at the moment. It worked very well in terms of us actually surpassing the amount of students we were looking for on the Manchester MBA. So that worked incredibly well. The students liked our positive messages. They liked how we were upfront with them saying, if we started in September, we just would not be able to offer you a face-to-face MBA. So I think I would say that's our biggest success on the MBA so far.
And what's your biggest outstanding challenge?
So the biggest outstanding challenge does come back to how you started the session about what's happening in Manchester right here, right now. You know, just before logging on here, I was listening to the radio. There's a lot of talk about Manchester going into a second lockdown. So of course, the University of Manchester have actually this week announced that all teaching and learning is going to move online, Now, we're very fortunate on the MBA at the business school that we do have more flexibility. So we are still going to be able to keep that face-to-face component on the MBA. But again, our MBA students are, of course, hearing these institutional messages coming out of the university, and they're thinking, wow, is this going to apply to us? It isn't, but either way, it's a position we wouldn't like to be in.
Fair enough, thank you. Samantha, some of our schools in South Africa have gone virtual learning, but a lot of students don't have the technology or the Wi-Fi functionality at home, or indeed laptops. What's been your biggest success at Stellenbosch, and what's your biggest concern?
You know, Andrew, I think we were slightly different from the Northern Hemisphere in the sense that when we went into lockdown on the 27th of March this year, we had already, or we were just about to complete the first term at the university and at the business school. It's important to note that our academic year runs from January to December. So we managed to complete the first term, and we then moved forward by a week the start of our vacation period. I agree with Chris, the difficulty is always balancing the institutional message and then the business school message, which it's two very different messages, I agree. And I think where we were very fortunate as the business school, we had already switched to blended learning about 3 years ago in terms of our postgraduate diploma in business management and administration. Also, we introduced a blended MBA, so it was not new for us. We had received strategic funding from the university a year ago to look at the digital roadmap for the business school and expanding that. And so for us, in that period of 3 weeks strict and hard lockdown in South Africa, we were able to move all our programs online at the business school. I should say we have no undergraduate students. We only offer 13 postgraduate students. Our students are post-experience. That is where we aim at, which is very different from our main campus. On the main campus, the university has really been exceptional in terms of communicating with students. They have been, there was a drive to ensure that the university delivers laptops to students who need them wherever they were in the country. There were negotiations with mobile service providers, data providers, to reduce the fees for data. The university assisted students who required more funding for data. So we've really worked very hard. The university moved all programs online at Stellenbosch University. It was not the case at all institutions. It was not possible. However, we were able to do that. We've done our assessments online, both on the main campus and for the business school. The university centrally, or the main campus, was allowed to bring back the first group of students, and that was 33% of students at the end of July. At the business school, we remained closed. Our students were very happy with the platform we were using and the online. We brought our first MBA students back to the campus in September, but only those who were participating in their global residencies, which we had to move online. It's a compulsory component of our MBA, and they have to complete it to do it in order to graduate. But we also gave our participants the option to do it virtually. So I think we as an institution have done very well in terms of the virtual platform. We invested prior to COVID a great deal in the training of our faculty members to ensure that they're comfortable teaching virtually, and then once lockdown started, also teaching remotely. A big challenge is data, the cost of data, but then also it is load shedding in South Africa, the fact that we have power outages for 2.5 hours at a time. So, you can have a faculty member teaching and now not being able to come to the campus where we have generators. So that was a bit of a challenge.
Very good. I mean, congratulations. That's a terrific response considering everything that's going on. Rajendra, in India, well, we've obviously seen the coronavirus numbers shoot up to almost 100,000 a day a couple of weeks ago. How are you managing out there? What's been your biggest success and what's your biggest remaining concern?
We were, like all the other schools, we were caught off guard. And we were in what I would call a double whammy, because our term runs April to end of March. And at the end of March, we had to graduate people and we had to kick them off campus during the last 2 weeks, which is, in their mind, one of the best times. They spent a whole year together on campus. We are a residential MBA program, fully residential, fully post-experience. And there's a lot of learning that takes place on campus. And so the last 2 weeks are especially important for these, for the participants, because that's when they're putting everything together, and the graduation ceremony is there. So we were the first school in India to do an e-graduation. At the same time, we were in a lockdown. So what do we do about the new students who were going to be coming in? And we had absolutely no idea when we could restart. And the students did not want to go online. So while we were waiting for government instructions in terms of what to do with our 2 campuses, fortunately, I didn't have to deal with a university level issue, because we are the university. I'm responsible for all decisions related. So I'm president, provost, and dean. And so I had things under my control, but the sheer complexity of it. So for example, we could not tell them when we would start. We obviously had to go online. Fortunately, we had one program for working professionals where we were already doing blended learning. But then there's the capacity issue. How do we put in studios? We just can't be talking heads on a PC. So on both the campuses, we had to install studios, and it's very hard to install studios when there's a restriction of movements and the campuses are locked down. We got tremendous help from the business community, from the alums, from our board members. And what we did is, while we were waiting to figure out when the government would allow us to do anything, we kept everybody very, very busy with seminars. I myself did a 2-hour seminar on issues related to pricing and business models. Lots of our faculty put in. We had our career services people come and talk about the future of work and how they can expect the different changes that would take place. And we did one thing which was very creative. ISB is known for on-campus activities and the engagements that we do outside the classrooms, not just what we're doing in the classroom. So what we were able to do is we created a module called Jumpstart module. So we took the first term. Our program is actually 8 terms of 6 weeks each. And we took the first term and we made it 12 weeks, because instead of face-to-face, we were going to be doing online. And usually the capstone project is, of course, at the end of the course. We put the capstone project where students had to work in groups, and we put it at the front end of the program. And we called it the Digital Head Start module, DHM. And we made that 12 weeks. That module allowed us to attend to the infrastructure. It allowed us to train our faculty, the administrative assistants, the teaching assistants, etc. They needed to be retrained, and the impact of it was fantastic. We were able to hang on to over 75% of the people that we admitted, and this is much higher than most of the schools that we know. And the quality of the participants is pretty much up there. The interesting thing now is that we've only just started bringing the students on campus. Actually, it started last week. And but the programs are still going to be delivered online while they're on campus till the government works out the rules. But they're very happy to be on campus because you know, the situation in India, you asked me what is happening with the 100,000 a day. If you're in a major metro area, be it Delhi or Mumbai or whatever, actually it's probably more dangerous to be in Delhi than to be on an ISB campus, because we have two campuses. Our larger campus in Hyderabad is 260 acres, and the northern campus is 80 acres. And these are little islands in the middle of the city. And we have kept we've kept safety measures to a very, very high level. And so the campus is actually at the moment much safer than the city is.
Very interesting.
That's a very, very long answer, but I can tell you it's been a big learning experience for me. And I had come to the US at the end of March for a family visit, and I was not able to go back, and I'm still here. So the amazing learning experience is, how do you manage two campuses from 12,000 miles away? And
yeah, lovely. Well, that's another question. Very good, thank you. Patti, how are you managing to move forward in France? I think you've frozen slightly. We'll come back to you, Patti. Can you hear me?
Solution. Yeah, can you hear me now?
That's better. Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's good.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, what I was saying is this summer, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
You're cutting in and out, Patti.
Are we okay? Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay, does that help? Are you better now?
That's okay. We obviously can't see you.
Can you hear me now at all?
Yeah, we can hear you now. If you talk on audio, that's good.
Okay.
Don't worry about your video for a moment.
Okay, are you able to see me at all?
Yes.
You're quite you're quite pixelated. Okay. If in doubt, just go on audio only.
Okay, I just want to show you this first. Okay, so what we did was we started thinking about an MBA, and an MBA is, of course, what happens in the classroom, but it's also what happens outside of the classroom, meeting conferences, networking events, and everything. So how were we going to bring these networking events to the MBAs in the first term of their school so that they don't lose contact? What we did was we partnered up with a company that does VR glasses, and we gave VR glasses to every single one of our MBAs. And we created a conference with them. There was a conference this past weekend with Lablaco where they scanned the inside of the Grand Palais, and it was a conference on sustainability in finance and sustainability in fashion, where you had LVMH, Kering, PwC, Unilever there, where our students were able to learn how to participate in conferences and network with people via virtual reality. It was one step further than Zoom. This is going to be an interesting tool moving forward, because if they're ever working for in retail right now, that's the future of retail. So this is why I wanted to quickly show you the glasses. Let me try to put my video on again and see if it just works for the glasses. So this is what we have. That's what we gave everybody. And now they're completely comfortable working in a VR world. So hopefully, and we have a partnership with Parsons moving forward once a month to do conferences to link them to industry leaders and other professionals in the world of sustainability. So that was one of the big innovations for coming back to school. And then one of our biggest challenges is obviously the same challenge everybody else has, meaning classrooms. What do we do with classrooms to make sure we get large rooms so that we can have the MBAs in there with social distancing and masks? So it's been a bit of a Tetris game. So far, we have almost all of our classes mask to mask, as we call it, not face to face, but mask to mask, with only exceptional Zoom sessions to avoid what we like to call is Zoom out. So that's it for me.
Very good. Thank you, Patti. Do feel free to come and join us again on video if you can. That's great. Chris, starting with you now, we talk about the Triple Crown. What does it mean to you at Manchester to be a Triple Crown school, and how do you best leverage it?
Okay, so I guess I'll answer from a recruitment perspective as opposed to maybe a institution perspective. So the easy answer is it means a lot, but that's because we actively use it. Just having it, I'm not sure exactly what that gives you. I'm not saying it doesn't give you anything if you don't actively promote it, but we do. For example, let's take 100 prospective MBA students or 100 prospective inquiries. How many know when they begin their research about the Triple Crown? I think, unfortunately, the answer for that is not many. So let's just say 20% know about it. Great. But what about the other 80%? So I look at it that it's our job to educate the market on the value of selecting a school that has that Triple Crown, which gives it, in essence, that stamp of approval. I think the point about educating the market is a very important one, and we shouldn't take it as a given that people automatically know all this business education lingo that we speak day in, day out in our jobs. And the final point I'll make on that is I think it also helps when discussing rankings. If our rankings drop, then it goes without saying that we put more emphasis on accreditation. I guess that's a pretty simplistic way to look at it. However, what I think is more powerful is when our rankings drop. When our rankings go up and we've done extremely well. Yes, we can tell prospective students about that, but when you talk about the accreditation and you give the accreditation the same level as you do the rankings, or even a higher level, it gives even more authority and quality standard, if you will, for that accreditation and the importance of the Triple Crown.
Great, thank you, Chris. I know David mentions it with every session, but we do take questions and answers. So if you have any questions for the panel, just type them into the question tab, and we hope to answer as many as we can towards the end of the session. That's great. Thank you, Chris. Samantha, in Africa, again, you're one of the very few Triple Crown schools. Tell us what it means to you and how you leverage it to best effect.
You know, Andrew, I agree with Chris that we very often, within the business schools, we know about Triple Crown accreditation and what it means, but the market doesn't always know it. So I think it's the same for us, as Chris has pointed out. For us as a school, it is something we're extremely proud of. We know we've benchmarked against the best. It's an acknowledgement of the excellence and the quality of our academic program, of the services we deliver, both internally but also to our stakeholders. And it's about the acknowledgement of the impact that we make through our teaching, our research, and our community outreach. We do use it. We have just opened up our applications for our next intake, and we actively promote the fact that we are a Triple Crown accredited business school, that we were the first school from an African university to obtain that accreditation. And then we're a member of a network of Triple Crown accredited business schools, the International Business School Network. And there, for example, we say to our alumni, we host joint alumni events with our Triple Crown partners. You have an opportunity not only to engage with us as a business school, but also with the alumni of other Triple Crown accredited business schools who, can become valuable networks out there in the business world. So we really utilize our Triple Crown accreditation.
Very good. I'll quote you some research that we did earlier this summer, because it was a major survey of MBA employers, and we asked 760 MBA employers, when you recruit MBAs in future, how important are the following aspects for you? And they regarded as very important. 46% said accreditation, only 27% said rankings, 36% said MBA format, i.e. Is it classroom, blended or online? And 26% said MBA type, full-time or part-time. So it clearly shows, perhaps more so than ever at this time, that the branding of accreditation is important. We just thought that was really interesting research. For any of you who haven't seen that, who'd like a copy of it, if you let us know, we'll happily send you the report. Rajendra, over to you as the 100th centenary Triple Crown School. What does it mean to you, and how do you get your team to best leverage it to full effect? What advice would you give schools?
Well, it means a lot to us simply because we're only 20 years old. Actually, we'll be going into our 20th year in December. We're still a teenager, 19 years old. We're not in our 20th year yet. So it's a very good way to thank our alumni, because when they came to ISB, especially the early batches, we had no reputation, even the infrastructure wasn't in, and they took a leap of faith to join us in this venture. So one is thanking the alumni, and that really engages them. Second is the point that has already been made with the recruiters. The recruiters, I mean, we have 1 week of recruiting in which we placed almost 1,500 job offers were made in a 4.5-day period. And the recruiters have been really very, very instrumental in our building our reputation. Of course, there's the academic part of the accreditation as well, but the recruiters having trust in us, so we're able to tell them, look, your trust was not misplaced. So that's another value. The third thing is that for future admissions, it's a game changer. The way we recruit new students is we actually hold master classes, because the way ISB teaches is very, very different from the way some of the other schools are doing, because campus activities and all the it's not that much lecture, a lot of group work, etc. And when we do these master classes, certainly we're able to leverage the accreditation, the Triple Crown, very, very well. And in these rather challenging times, for example, for the MBA program, we go through 3 rounds of admissions. We just finished round 1 for the next batch, and our applications are up actually about 50%, believe it or not. And so I mean, I'm sure some of it is because some people are looking at this as an opportunity to improve their future. But I think reputation matters. I'm a marketing and branding person, and I know the value of intangibles. So this is incredible. Thank you.
Thank you. Patti, Essex are a really top school, and in a very competitive French market. What does it mean for you? How do you take maximum advantage of your Triple Crown status?
I'll turn off my webcam. There seems to be a problem here. It might make it easier. I can only echo what my colleagues have said about the importance that the Triple Crown be everywhere in your marketing materials. It is an engagement for quality everywhere. We do have students that come to us because of the Triple Crown accreditation. They would not have applied to us if we don't have it. So we may have a different type of student that comes toward us, but they are very well educated on what entails the Triple Crown accreditation. So it is everywhere, on our website, in our brochures, on the bottoms of our emails, in also the Discord or the sales pitch that our salespeople that travel around the world to MBA fairs talk about as well, the importance of a Triple Crown accreditation. You just cannot function in this highly competitive market of France or in Europe in general without having the Triple Crown accreditation.
Very good. I'm going to bring in one of our questions, if I can, because it relates very much to the topic. So it's from Antonio Quezada. from Espol, one of our great schools in Ecuador. And Antonio is asking, what does it mean to actively use the Triple Crown? Is it just marketing for recruitment students and faculty, or can it be used for research, coaching, or partnerships? What are your views on that? Chris, starting with you.
In terms of, I think it can work in terms of partnerships. I mean, one of the things that we have done very well, I think, is, and it's to draw upon your research that you mentioned a few moments ago, Andrew, when you said about how employers value the accreditation. So we, with a number of our employer clients, such as Amazon, American Express, where we've been entering competitions with AMBA to show how our partnerships work, and I think that helps those clients and give them added reassurance that they are partnering with a world-class business school. So I think we actually won one employer partnership award last year with some of our work with one of our clients in the UK called Travis Perkins.
Very good. Samantha, do you have a view on this?
Yeah, Andrew, yes, I do think that it definitely has an impact, and we do utilize it. For us, our Triple Crown accreditation plays a major role in terms of our partnerships, who we are partnering with, the different aspects in terms of, what is the focus of those partnerships, and in terms of research and the industry contacts that we make through our research, just like Chris indicated. I think for us, it is very much similar to the experiences Chris and his colleagues have had.
Great, thank you. Rajendra, do you have a view on the extent of using it?
Well, I think at the end of the day, universities build their reputation on thought leadership. And one of the benefits of the Triple Crown accreditation is that you now belong to a community, and we need to find ways in which we can leverage our community connection. Now, fortunately for ISB, when we started with 100% visiting faculty. And even now, in a given year, for short courses, 1-week courses, 2-day courses, we have a lot of flow. We get about over 150 visiting faculty coming on the teaching side. Now, what we are doing is we are now converting it to the research side. So you come to India, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of changes in government regulation, a lot of experiments taking place, and therefore a lot of before and after kind of data that is available, for analysis. And I have started using the term, that we want to make ISB the sabbatical capital of the world. And it's, I think, we should look at our community and say, okay, which are the like-minded schools and how can we learn from each other? Because there's a lot of value that comes from a faculty member from another university just coming and spending a couple of weeks with us. And so, I mean, that's also one of the benefits of the accreditation process itself. You've got outsiders looking closely at what you've been doing and saying, by the way, have you thought about this? So these ideas that come, in terms of advice is something that helps us to improve. And the interesting thing is that when you engage with other Triple Crown members, then our benchmarking process becomes, so rather than comparing ourselves to the average, we have to compare ourselves to the best. And I think it's better to benchmark and find out where we could improve rather than simply pat ourselves on the back. But to me, I think we should really activate this community. We should have in my opinion, we should have a Triple Crown, conference, and we can, during that conference, we can figure out, how do we make this group work more cohesively.
Good point. because perhaps in a minute we'll come on to the question of how can the Triple Crown best be marketed? Should it be each school leveraging its own advantage to the full, or should the community overall promote the Triple Crown between the 101 of you? Patti, I'll just ask you to comment on Antonio's question, if you're there. Can
Yes,
it be used?
I turned off my camera so that you can actually hear me. I can agree with, of course, my colleagues before, and I'll just add one last. Having the Triple Crown accreditation establishes clear standards for every part of the service of the student experience, whether that be classroom experience, career services, study trips. There's a clear guidelines on what quality is. So everybody needs to be on board on those same levels of quality. It creates a lot of clarity. Beyond marketing everything internally, it's a big help. That's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Another question coming in on this, which is an anonymous question asked, but it's a good one. As the number of Triple Crown schools is growing, is it more important to the panel to keep it growing and broaden the family, or is it more important to keep it small and elite? What are your views? Not starting with you, Chris.
I personally would like to keep it small and elite, but maybe that's not a surprise because my job is to recruit on all 3 of our MBA programs, and it helps me very much. So apologies for being selfish.
That's all right. Samantha, what's your view?
Well, I'm a bit in two minds here, Andrew, because I agree with Chris about the, small and elite. And when it comes to partnerships, for example, I am a firm believer in the fewer partnerships, but good quality and really deep collaboration. However, if we expand a little bit more, then we ensure the quality and academic excellence within more schools and and more programs, and that's not a bad thing. So we need to look at getting more business schools at a level of really excellence, quality, but yeah, so I'm a bit in two minds. I cannot give you a definite answer on this one. No.
Very diplomatic.
I should have gone for diplomacy.
No. You should go for what you believe. That's what AMBA and BGA is about. You should go what you believe. Of course, there'll always be some reassurance of some kind of limit, because as you know, at AMBA, we're going to keep the network to 300. And Equus is what at the moment about 230 schools, right, and it'll be more. So inevitably through Equus and AMBA there will be some kind of check and balance on it, I would think. Rajendra, what's your view?
Well, I'm kind of torn as a marketing person who believes in differentiation and positioning. I'd like to keep it smaller, but if I put on a different hat, I think students deserve quality education. And if I look at India as a market, it doesn't hurt ISP at all to have more competition. In fact, it will make us better. And at the same time, it would offer the students more high quality options. I actually volunteer and work with the other institutions who are in effect competitors, but I believe that there's a saying that a rising tide raises all ships. So if we can improve the quality of education in India and globally, it will help all of us. And so really two sides. As a marketing person, I want to be exclusive, but as a member of the community, I think I should help, or ISP should help everybody. So we actually open up our doctoral courses to other institutions, and we open up our own conferences and so on, workshops to other institutions. And so we want to contribute to the community as well. So anyway, I think it's good to have exclusivity, but I think it's also good to have competition.
Patti, what's your view?
Well, I'm going to be less diplomatic than everybody else. I've been in France for 20 years, but the American's still there. I'm going to say we're in a highly competitive market, so I would be for exclusivity. We have an MBA in luxury, and luxury is exclusivity. It just right now, I want to make sure that, I mean, I know everybody that has the Triple Crown's quality, but there also needs to be at some point some stopgap for that. So I would definitely be for limiting. Sorry.
No, clear. And actually, if you did market together as a group and network as a group, you know, 100, 101 is still a pretty, you could make a pretty sizable awareness footprint on the world of business schools, even at 100, 101. I was going to move on to a more technical question on accreditations, and I see that we're getting quite a few questions on that score. So that's the perfect move on. How do you manage the 3 accreditations? Because there's a lot of prestige, but there's a lot of work. Do you prefer to manage them almost in a block, 2 or 3 in 1 year, or do you like to space them out? Chris, starting with you, what are the best logistics for you of managing all 3?
Yeah, I think we definitely like to space them all out. That's a given. I think you've also briefly touched there. There's no doubt about it. It is a significant amount of resource required in terms of people power. You know, when the dean sends an internal school-wide email whenever we've been re-accredited, you know, it almost sounds like an Oscar ceremony speech with the amount of people she has to personally thank for all their hard work. And I'm talking as someone who's coming from, you know, one of the largest campus-based business schools in the UK and Europe, and I know the huge amount of resource and work that we put into it. But we do that because our dean hears people like myself speak to say it is very important for my colleagues and myself to succeed in our roles. So a lot of work, but work we think is very worthwhile.
Yeah.
Very good. Samantha?
Well, Andrew, my first reaccreditation or accreditation visit was 5 months, 5 or 6 months after I started in my position. I had no idea what was going on, really. I was given a report that was written, and we were reporting on a period when I was not at the business school. My following 3 accreditation visits, I absolutely loved, and I did because we have a workshop approach to the accreditation process at the business school. Everyone is involved from the get-go. We start a couple of years in advance already. We workshop through it. There's a leadership team, yes, but everyone in the school takes ownership. And so, like Chris, when that message comes through to say we have been reaccredited, the joy in the school is palpable because everyone worked on it. Yes, we push in lots of resources. There's specific people who put in more energy, more time than others, yes, but everyone's involved in the writing of the report for the different divisions or sections that we have to focus on. I have thoroughly enjoyed the process at USB. We did last year we did 1 reaccreditation, and then we had a year where we did 2 within a month of each other, which was really challenging. We survived it though, and yes, it's hard work. It really needs everyone to be in there, involved, focused. But I think my colleagues might think I'm absolutely crazy, but I have thoroughly enjoyed the last 3 reaccreditations. Look at that.
Actually, I've just seen your face. How do you like to deal with them? 3 coming along like 3 buses at once, or well spaced out over a few years?
Oh my goodness, no, well spaced out is perfect, so I have time to recuperate. My goodness, no. We are, luckily we have a team that takes care of accreditation, but they don't work alone. And we're solicited a lot to make sure that they have the correct information, then everything's up to par. So it's nice when things are spread out. Unfortunately, it almost never works like that. So we do spend a lot of time at the last minute. We need to get more organized to make sure that everything is prepared in advance over the years. But like everybody else has said, once you get that accreditation approved, it's joy all over the campus, not only for the accreditation, but for the fact that it's over.
A question here for the Triple Crown 3 accreditations, and it's a good one and very timely at this point. How would you like to see the 3 accreditations transforming as the higher education sector changes into micro-credentials or learning hotels? What would you like to see change? And would you like to see all 3 Triple Crown schools adopting similar changes going forward? Chris, any thoughts to start with you?
So is that question about what having smaller micro accreditations? I didn't quite follow it.
I think it's about, as the world's moving possibly into smaller lifelong learning modules and some digital online small bite chunk courses, you know, how do you think the Triple Crown accreditations need to evolve in this changing landscape?
Yeah, I think maybe the question there is then, you know, what do schools do in terms of, you know, one of the terms you just mentioned there, Andrew, is about lifelong learning, and I think there's a big emphasis for our 101 schools to adopt things like that, and to ensure that when students come on our programs at our respective business schools, that they don't just get value for money for the here and now, and that they get it in the future. For example, one of the initiatives that we've done on our MBA recently is to invite all alumni back to take one of our new electives. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I thought I'd share that perspective.
Okay. Patti, do you have a view on how they should evolve?
Well, I do. I'll turn off my camera so that you can hear me. One thing is it's a discussion that we've also been having with the FT on our famous rankings. We'd like to see more of accountability on aims achieved, meaning when you accept a candidate into a program and they say, I want X to happen at the end of that program, that you're actually producing. You know, so aims achieved is not someone saying, I want to make $1 million at the end of my MBA. We know that that's not possible, except for ESSEC graduates. That happens every time. I'm kidding. But we want to make sure that those aims achieved, because that's really somebody got the value for money and got what they wanted out of the program. That's the biggest deal for me.
Very good. And how do you all feel about the whole area of sustainability and poverty and responsible management going forward? I mean, clearly they're important now. Should the Triple Crown accreditation criteria, one of our audience is asking, be changed more dramatically to reflect those? Rajendra, starting with you in a responsible management key country.
I think management education is contextual. Let me explain what I mean by that. I've spent a majority of my time in North America. Then I was in Singapore for almost 7-8 years, and I'm back in India now after 40 years. And in India, what we have to do is also work with the government. We have a country which has 14 languages, and there's a lot of heterogeneity, you know, socioeconomic heterogeneity, linguistic, cultural, even just within India. And I think we need to really look at, you know, how things are evolving over a period of time, and there's a much higher value to social responsibility And let me explain what I mean by that. As management school faculty, we are often very focused on students and jobs, the corporate community, getting the students hired, etc., etc. And that is a point of focus, which is corporate. When we look, if you put on the hat of somebody who's in public policy, a public policy decision maker, what they are looking at is what is it the citizens need? What is it that the country needs? And I think we as educators need to look at that aspect also. And so, one area where ISB is focusing on is looking at public management. How can we bring business management skills into the public sector? And we're actually doing a lot of work, with the various government agencies like the Indian Administrative Service, the Indian Foreign Service. And so we have to look at socially responsible behavior, but also engagement with the public policy side. And that is definitely important in emerging and growth markets, because it may not be needed in North America, but when we look at the Indian context, I think it is important for that social responsibility to be built into our curriculum.
Thank you, Rajendra. And Samantha, in a country where responsible management is becoming so crucial, would you like to see the Triple Crown accreditation standing more for responsible management as a balance versus teaching commercial skills?
I do think that is necessary within our context as well. Andrew, we live, I think what we face in the country at the moment, as you alluded to, but also on the broader continent. And key for us at USB is teaching our students to be socially responsible leaders. That is key for us. They have to be able to go out there and in a responsible way lead and be stewards in society. It's not just about the financial gains, and I do think it's important that the accreditation agencies take those things into account. There's a context within which we're situated in, and it's important to also focus on that.
Okay, thank you. Patti, how do you feel about that from a French market perspective, where so many students are wanting all the commercial skills, but there's a cry from the public in general for more responsible management and sustainability teaching? Are you there, or has she gone completely?
Can you hear me? So sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you now. You're back.
The answer is quite simple. The jobs of tomorrow post MBA are in sustainability. If we look at the jobs of tomorrow in the luxury market, we have quite a few of those students on our MBA. They're all in sustainability. So we also practice what we preach, and we teach them from day one. Their integration week on the MBA is all about sustainability locally, climate change, with the vineyards in Chablis, what's happening with biodynamic wines. We've also stopped all long haul travel for our study trips. Our study trips will only happen locally, and we will only travel by rail. And this is also why we have the new VR glasses to go ahead and connect with other people around the world in a new and inventive way that just costs electricity, that we hope is created by a windmill or something else. So that's kind of, we're trying to practice what we preach.
Okay, very good, thank you. Right. Here's a great question about the accreditation bodies during the COVID crisis, and it's anonymous, but I totally understand why, because you've asked it. So we moved very quickly with AMBA and BGA to help you with virtual accreditation visits almost instantly when the physical wasn't possible. But the question here is a good one. Have the 3 accreditation bodies supported your business schools in the crisis caused by COVID-19? And if so, how? Chris, starting with you, and do say exactly what you feel.
So I think one of the answers there would be, again, going back to to the research that you mentioned. When you're doing external pieces of work like that, it can only help your members and the schools. So you know, there's only so much those bodies can do, because a lot of it falls on the schools themselves to be actively out there, speaking with prospective students, ensuring that they're recruiting quality students, ensuring that they're recruiting quality staff. So I don't, you know, I wouldn't want to put the responsibility on the accreditation bodies. What I will say is, when you do external research like that, I think it goes a long way, and I think many schools will value and benefit from it.
Okay, Samantha, adding a bit more to the question as well. So same question, but also if we look forward and the virus is around, heaven forbid, for another year and a half, how do you all feel about accreditation panel visits being virtual, both in the short term and potentially in the long term, versus a physical visit?
I think obviously it's wonderful if your peer review team is on site physically, but I do like Patti's idea about the VR glasses. I think that's something we could definitely make use of. And I find the platform we use is very interactive. So if we were allowed to use our platform, and you know, you can have those discussions, and we can still bring everyone who's local to our campus to have their engagements with the peer review team wherever in the world they are, then it's certainly doable. And you can, you know, the technology is amazing, so you can give people still, in essence, an on-campus experience no matter where in the world they are, Andrew.
Okay, thank you. Rajendra, what are your views?
Well, I think the way things are changing and the amount that we have learned in terms of how to use the media, it's definitely feasible to do the accreditation online. And, you know, when in our own teaching, we have breakout rooms, this, that, and the other, and all that can be brought into the accreditation process. So whether it is talking to the students or talking to the faculty or talking to the staff, I think all of that could be done in a virtual environment. And you know, in our own process, I mean, I've been here running the school for 6 months, and I'm not even on either of our two campuses. The great thing now is if I want to call a meeting together, I can get the key people on my staff together within an hour, because nobody's traveling. I know where they are. So I think let's look at the advantages that are coming through, you know, because of the changes. And I think we, you know, our faculty and staff were resisting technological change, and COVID made us move. And there's a lot of positive things that have happened for the students. All the lectures are recorded. So if they were half asleep during class, they can go and watch that lecture again.
Patti, I'm going to leave the last word to you. I can see we're coming up to the last minute. What would you like to see the Triple Crown schools do more to support you during this COVID crisis?
Well, I want to thank AMBA for supporting us immensely, because during the COVID crisis, the number of Zooms and research that you guys put out was absolutely fantastic. So first of all, bravo to AMBA and the rest of your team, who were incredible. What I'd like to do is what my colleagues touched on earlier, try to create more events online and more unity about how to promote what we do and the quality of what we do on a larger scale. And that's it for me.
Very good. Well, look, perfect timing. I'm sorry we've not got time for any more questions, but we're up against our 3 o'clock deadline. We promised we'd finish by 3. Thank all 4 of you so much for everything that you've done today. Great session. David, I'm going to hand back to you.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you, everyone. That was a fantastic panel. Thank you so much for your great insight and also your candor, which I think has been really refreshing. As Andrew mentioned, unfortunately, that is all we've got time for just now. There's a few more sessions left to come. So first of all, Andrew talked about our employers research. So I popped the research into the handouts panel, just in your control panel. So if you want to download that, all you have to do is click on it and it will magically appear on your screen. So can't say fairer than that. We were about to have a Business Graduates Association accreditation workshop at 3:30 this afternoon, BST. We've popped some information in the little chat box for you so as you can access that session should you choose to join it. All you have to do is just complete the registration using the link, and you can learn more about the session and find out more about the speakers as well. And tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. BST again in London, we're having an interactive networking session again, and this time we're calling it Your Questions Answered, where you'll have the opportunity to put your questions to some experts from our accreditation team at AMBA, and they'll be able to answer any leftover questions from the sessions or anything else you want to talk about. And I know that some of you have messaged me and suggested perhaps we could make the questions being asked public, as you'll have heard from this afternoon's session, a lot of people ask for their questions to be anonymous, and that's why we can't do it. But tomorrow it'll be a great chance for you to have a face-to-face conversation and really share your insight and also put forward some of the questions that have been burning inside during this week. So without further ado, all that remains for me to do is to thank you again, Andrew, Patti, Chris, Raj and Samantha. Thank you very much again, and I look forward to seeing everyone at 3:30. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
All the best. Bye now.
Thank you.